Howdy friends, welcome to the Eclectic Sam YouTube channel and welcome to my eclectic corner of YouTube, where I predominantly talk about reselling and reselling on eBay specifically, but from time to time we may go on a little trip, may go to a museum or two, or may just talk about some of the eclectic things that I enjoy in my life. It's coming up on New Year's Eve, going to be a new year. 2022 is hopefully going to be better than the past 2 years, but I'm hoping the sales are going to be outrageous next year for me. Just been working harder on this eBay thing and everything, but I thought today that we would do a little video to kind of look back on 2021 and see what some of the more memorable sales, maybe some of the more expensive but more memorable, cooler items and so forth were. But before we get into that, see down below that subscribe button? It doesn't cost you a thing. Go ahead and hit that. It'll give you the ability to see what's coming in the future. Plus, it helps me out. And I was looking at some of my analytics here on YouTube, and I see that only about 55% of the people that watch my videos have subscribed. So if you will, please, if you're enjoying it, go ahead and subscribe. But let's get into, I chose about 25 items that have sold over the past year. Like I said, some of the most expensive items, some of the cooler items. First thing was a vintage Woolrich brand flannel jacket, sold for $100 with free shipping. And I'd gotten that free from my dad. He was cleaning out his closet, and it was a jacket that he bought back in the 60s. A real nice jacket. I would have kept it if it fit me, but it was way too small for me. But vintage flannels, especially Woolrich brand and stuff like that, C.C. Filson, and other brands like that, are a real big thing to look out for. They always bring big money. Next up was another free item from Dad. He was clearing out some stuff, and he found an old Edsel convertible model that he had built when he was a kid. It was in rough shape. It was really, really in rough shape. But this model was actually a pretty rare model. And even as rough as it was, it sold for $45 plus shipping. Next up, a while back, I bought some new old stock car parts. And in it were some glass bowl fuel filters that some of the cars from the 50s and 60s used. These were brand new AC Delco GM filters. I think there were 14 of them in the lot, and I ended up paying like $3 a piece for them. It wasn't much. And they're selling anywhere between $55 to about $80. Just depending if I'm running a sale or somebody makes an offer or whatever. But this one right here I'm showing sold for $55. That's the lowest that they've sold for out of a $3 buy. That's pretty good right there. Next up was a vintage t-shirt. This was a vintage Edelbrock, which is automotive parts, hot rod parts company. Vintage t-shirt from 1982. Real cool raglan type shirt. Had the Edelbrock logo on it. And that sold for $82.99 plus shipping. And I got that, actually I bought it on eBay. I think I paid like $10 or $15 from it. Next up, been cleaning out some of my reference material books, you know, like price guides, car restoration books and stuff like that. Stuff that I don't really need to look back at because I know the information that's in them now, or I'm just not interested in it anymore. This was a 1967-68 Chevrolet definitive fact book for Camaros, and it sold for $159.99 with free shipping. And any discontinued reference books and stuff like that, 9 times out of 10 are going to go up in value once they're, you know, not in print anymore. So keep an eye out for those. That one, it came from my collection, so I bought it for the full price of it, but I only paid like 20 bucks for it when it was new. Next up is a little area that I really like is action figures and toys and stuff like that. This was a Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th movies. It's an action figure by Mezco. It sold for $80 plus shipping. I had gotten a couple of those from a auction that I bought from, and I think I had about 15 bucks into those. But those are good items right there. Next is some military clothes. Odd military clothes, not your general run-of-the-mill uniforms, but the odd stuff like jackets and stuff like that sell real well for high dollar. This was a British paratroopers airborne smock jacket. It sold for $100 with free shipping, and we didn't have but a couple of bucks into it. It came in a big lot of stuff that we bought at the local auction. Another military item that sold from that same lot, I only paid a couple of dollars from it, is this U.S. Marine Corps vest, armored vest. It sold for $137.25 with free shipping. It was kind of heavy, so the shipping was probably about $25 on that, but still made a real good profit on that one. That one, I was glad to sell that. Next up is one of my most memorable things. I go to auctions from time to time, and I'll look through the lots, box lots and stuff. And sometimes there's stuff in them that I don't know what they are. But if there's labels on them with descriptions or whatever, I'll look the stuff up to see what the values are. Well, I was at this auction, and there was this big lot of what looked like different industrial parts, you know, switches and valves and stuff like that, which I didn't know much about, but I saw 3 of these GE Fanuc is the brand, GE Fanuc, and these were control switches for industrial equipment. And I looked them up real quick, and they were selling anywhere between about $150 up to $400 a piece. Now, I sold one of the first ones right off the bat for like $350. And this was the last one that I sold this year. They did sit for a while because they're not a common item, but sold for $175 with free shipping. And the cool thing is, I only paid $20 for that full little box lot because nobody knew what the stuff was, and I was the only one that took the time to research it. So always research stuff, even if you don't know what it is. This is a real cool trench coat that is from the 90s. It was kind of a patchwork leather of all different colors of patchwork, and it was all embroidered with rainbow embroidery. Sold for $90 plus shipping. And I bought that from a state lot of clothing that I bought a while back that I ended up paying $2 a piece for each piece of clothing. So $2 into $90, that was a good one right there. Cleaning out your own closet. Sometimes you don't wear stuff as often as you think you need to. So why let it sit and collect dust in your closet when you can make money on it on eBay? Here's a starter jacket, an Atlanta Braves starter jacket I bought for myself. I had bought it at a clearance from a store, and I only paid $25 for it. Wore it for about 1 year. Turned around and sold it here on eBay for $54.99 plus shipping. More vintage clothes, vintage bowling shirt. Vintage bowling shirts and vintage Hawaiian shirts do always sell real well. This was a vintage Nast brand women's bowling shirt. Had a neat big patch on the back of it and some patches all over it from bowling tournaments. Sold for $60 plus shipping. And I bought that actually on eBay as well. I believe I paid about $10 for it. Case of, I hate to say it, but you take advantage of some sellers don't know what they're selling. So you jump on it real quick, buy it up, and then you can make the money off of it. Next was a real cool book. I bought my local thrift store knew that I sold, and they had gotten a box full of Rolls-Royce manuals and books. But I live in North Georgia. Nobody's going to walk off the street into the thrift store looking for Rolls-Royce books. So they called me up and asked me if I was interested in it. And I bought it up from them. It ended up being about $5 per book what I paid for them. This was a Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud owner's manual. This little manual that they kept in the glove box, usually for the chauffeur to know how to change the oil or spark plugs or whatever. But this book sold for $119.99 with free shipping. Vintage advertising. Here we have a vintage NHRA, or National Hot Rod Association, Winston Drag Racing banner. This was a big 106 by 41 inch banner. Sold for $115 with free shipping. And I bought that on Facebook. I'm a member of a vintage drag racing group where people sell items. And this guy sold me a lot of 5 different banners for $20 a piece. Still have, I think, 3 or 4 of them left. But made my money back on this one. Everything else is going to be profit. Trading cards, specifically non-sports trading cards. Some people don't realize there is big money in non-sports trading cards. You know, cards about movies, Garbage Pail Kids, you know, history cards, you know, stuff like that. They actually have made non-sports cards longer than they have sports cards. Back into the 1800s, they did different stuff about nobility and horses and stuff like that. This was a 1966 Green Berets card. The number 1 card in the series was John F. Kennedy, and it was graded a PSA 8, which is graded 1 through 10, 10 being your best. This was a PSA 8. It was a very low population of graded cards of this card. It sold for $132.99 plus free shipping. And I bought that on eBay. I was putting the set together, but I decided not to. But I bought that one for $35 on eBay. So that was a big profit right there off of buying from eBay and selling it on eBay. Next up, another vintage clothing lot from the estate lots that I bought that I paid $2 per piece. This was a 3-piece suit, women's Young Pendleton brand. So I paid $6 for it. And this is a nice vintage Pendleton wool clothing. Always sells real well. And this was a nice suit, sold for $94.99 with free shipping. Next up was a really cool little hat, vintage hat from the 70s. It was a vintage Ferrari hat. It was red with a Ferrari patch on it. And it was new old stock, or dead stock, so it had never been worn. You could tell there was no wear to it. And that hat sold for $89.99 with free shipping. And that came from a auction that I bought online, I believe on HighBid. And I think I had about $15 invested in that. I love the old car related stuff. Next up is something that you don't think about making big money on, but it is. Vintage well, not just vintage, entertainment memorabilia. Stuff like props from movies, or wardrobe from movies or TV shows, or, you know, musicians, wardrobe pieces and stuff like that. This was something neat. Danielle Colby, if any of you watch American Pickers, Danielle, the tattooed woman on there, she is actually a burlesque dancer as well. And she had been cleaning out her closet, selling off some of her burlesque outfits. And this was one of them. This was one of her first outfits she had ever worn. And this was a Wonder Woman burlesque outfit. I bought it from her for, I believe it was $75. But I was redoing, I'm redoing my living room with different entertainment memorabilia, and this just didn't fit with the rest of the stuff. So I turned around and sold it on eBay, and another collector bought it up real quick. It went to England, believe it or not. Sold for $200 with free shipping. Next up, vintage, not vintage, I'm sorry. I keep using vintage when it's not vintage. Limited edition, very low numbered collectibles. This case is a statue as art, what's called a art piece, basically, where it was carved out and then they duplicated them. These were limited to, I believe, 300. It was called Keep Me in Your Heart, and it sold for $425 plus shipping. And I actually bought that when it first came out. They sold out real quick, and I paid $150 for it then. And I only had it for about a year and a half, 2 years. Once again, it just didn't go along with how I'm redecorating, so I just wanted to get rid of it. And made real good money doing it. Vintage t-shirts again. Vintage music venue t-shirts, concerts, and so forth always do real well. Most people know about that. Always make sure you look for dry rot on them. What you can do is take the edge of the cloth and kind of pull it apart. If it just stretches, it's fine. If it tears just real easily, it's dry rotted material. Don't buy those. You can't resell them. But this was a 1998 Alice Cooper concert t-shirt. Sold for $79.99 plus shipping. And I bought that from a lot of concert t-shirts that I bought on eBay and had about $10 a piece in those. One lane of reselling that I don't get into in collectibles is comic books. Comic book collectors are very, very picky, which I don't blame them. But that being said, it's hard for somebody to learn the values and the quality of the items to collect comic books. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't ever get into them, but when I do get into them, I'll make sure that they're already graded and slabbed into a graded slab. This case was a Hulk number 200 from 1976. It was graded CGC, which is the top company, 9.8 out of 10, so it was a very high grade, and it sold for $275 with free shipping. And I bought that on a high bid auction, and I paid, I believe, $125 for it. So I paid up for it, but I knew from my research that it was going to bring good money. Another advertising banner. This was a very rare Japanese Bridgestone tire banner that had Superman on it. It was from 1979. I bought this from the same auction that I bought that comic book from. This banner, I paid $200 for it, but I knew it was rarity that once again, if I pay up, I'm going to get good money for it. So I turned around and sold it on eBay for $500 plus with free shipping. So that was a good sell. This was a real neat, it was all fabric banner. So it was real cool. Next up, a watch that I had in my personal collection that it was too heavy for my arm. I have real small arms, probably because of my muscular dystrophy, but a heavy watch just doesn't feel right on my arm. This was an Armalite brand, Caliber Series automatic watch, sold for $200 with free shipping. And it was basically brand new. I had all the paperwork, the box, and everything for it. Next, we have something that's kind of a where I got my feet wet into antiques and everything, because my mother used to sell antique pottery and dishes and stuff like that. So I learned from there and worked my way out, branched out to different things and learned more. But this was a Staffordshire dog. It was 12 inches tall, which is a little bit bigger than what some Staffordshire dogs sell for. Are. But this one sold for $124.99 plus shipping. And it came from an auction lot, and I paid like $20 for it. Once again, people were bidding in the auction but didn't know what they were bidding on or what the stuff was. So I took advantage of that, got it at a cheap price, and turned around and made good money off of it. Last item, another vintage t-shirt. Not only vintage music t-shirts, but vintage entertainment t-shirts too. Movies and stuff like that do real well. Pop culture like E.T. and Transformers, all that kind of stuff. This was a 1982 vintage Best Little Whorehouse in Texas movie t-shirt. It was in real good shape. I bought this in a lot of movie t-shirts. I still have about 25 of them that I haven't even listed yet. They're sitting in my death pile waiting to be listed. I've got some from Conan and E.T., Back to the Future, stuff like that. Some real high dollar ones too. Need to get them listed. But this one was the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas t-shirt. Sold for $275.61 with free shipping. So that was a real good, and like I said, I think I paid like $10 or $15 a piece for those t-shirts. But that was some of the pretty cool sales that I had last year. I'm hoping to blow that out of the water next year and see what we can do. I've got some plans to kind of branch out into some other selling venues. Right now I just do eBay and Etsy. But I hope to get into doing some Facebook Marketplace sales, because those have improved for other people. And also I want to get into trying Amazon, doing some retail arbitrage. But it's always the same thing as part-time for me. Just don't have the physical ability to do this full-time. But I enjoy it. It's something for me to do. Make an extra dollar or two, and get out there and just do something I enjoy. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and always hit the like button and comment any questions or suggestions you might have. I hope you have a good, happy New Year, and I hope you come back next year and see what we have coming then. But until next time, my friends, I love you. Bye.